welcome to Breaking MedTech. I am Ryan. This is Cope. And today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room for most small medtech companies, which is the
sad fact that
nobody knows who you are. You all think people know who you are. And the fact that you are convinced that people are obsessed with you and know who you are is killing you.
Now, Ryan, obsessed seems a little bit...
Nope, I'm sticking with that.
Well, all right. Okay. I like that. I think you're right.
Yeah.
We've experienced it.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've probably been guilty of it.
100%.
Right? Yeah. So why is this an important topic from your perspective, that we think these folks have some flawed thinking? But what makes you want to talk about it?
So, I've talked to enough founders and sales directors and we'll call leaders at these companies over like a 6-year period that there's this idea with a lot of these groups that people constantly know who they are, right? And some of it is like said in a cocky, like, they know who I am, all right? They know who we are. We talked to them at a trade show 4.5 years ago.
Right.
And some of it is in a, if we just put content out or we just put something out or we update our website, like they're just going to find it. They're just going to stumble upon it, and because they care about us, right? And it always reminds me of this thing that my dad said to me when I was probably like late teens, early 20s, of like, I know he said it in a very loving way. It wasn't like the scene with the dad from Friday Night Lights with Tim McGraw. Great movie. He was like, "You're not nearly as important as you think you are." Which cuts. It hurts. It hurts when you hear that. But it's true. Like, I'm the most important person to my mom and dad, I think. But like to most of the outside world, I'm not. And it's an important thing for a lot of these small companies, is like, you're not the most important person. You want to be extremely important. You want people to remember you. You want people to think about you. But more often than not, most people don't know who you are. And
right.
The only way to kind of grow past that point is reaching a point of acceptance with who you are right now.
This Breaking MedTech just took a turn for a direction I didn't see it. I feel like I should be on a couch. Psychotherapy time.
There's a couch right behind you. You can go lay down.
Listen, I've had problems with my mom. I mean, it's a big thing we could talk about after dark. That's Breaking MedTech.
Yeah, Breaking MedTech. She compared you to Jerry West. Yeah. She compared you to Jerry West. All right, so that's my big thing. Is like, these groups think that everyone knows who they are, thinks that everyone's obsessed with them, thinks that everybody is stalking them, including their competitors, and it is killing them because they're not.
I see.
They're not. Okay. They don't do stuff. They just like.
So the obsession presents as, I don't want to say too much about what we do on social media or without an NDA, because people will then steal what I believe to be cold fusion. That's part of it? I think that is, I have legitimately heard people go like, well, we can't share that. That's proprietary information. Like, no, it's not. Well, it's not you. The way you described it, I was afraid people thought that we think it's a form of narcissism, and it isn't. But it's the silo that everybody gets into, where you live in this space and you feel like you're trying to master it, and you're cutting edge, and you think other people will see you as cutting edge because you are. You, in fact, many times are cutting edge. The problem is you're cutting edge, and everybody's behind you, and you feel as if they understand what you're talking about, how you look at things, and they often don't. You're sort of Uh, you can call it whatever you want. Like, and we should probably do some examples because this is a bit esoteric,
Mm-hmm.
um, of thinking that if you show people what you do, everyone's right next to you, breathing down your neck, looking over your shoulder, and they're going to get an advantage on you because they saw what you're doing. And in reality, I think what I've experienced is most of the time, the people that you show this to don't even understand what you're talking about. Well, and sometimes don't even have an interest in it, right? And sometimes they do, and sometimes they're wowed by it and they want to learn more, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is exactly what you're talking about from a marketing and sales perspective, right?
Yeah, I think part of it is the fact that people don't like they legitimately think that like I have heard and I know you have heard almost word for word, we can't put that on LinkedIn. We can't share that on social media. I don't want to share that on social media. I don't want to do that because then
Yeah.
someone's going to see it and take our idea, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a conversation. I remember it was like a year and a half ago. I had a conversation with a founder who was convinced that if they just showed their technology, which was in facilities, right? It's not like it was like hidden in some secret vault with the Coca-Cola recipe. It was in facilities. And they were like, yeah, but we can't, I don't want to put a video online. And I don't want to I don't want to put video on social media of someone demonstrating it or doing it because someone's going to steal our idea. Now, mind you, like someone could have walked to one of their like pilot
Yeah.
sites or one of their early customers and completely taken it, but they were convinced that if it was on the internet. But I also think the other part of it is like maybe like the hubris of like, and maybe it's not hubris, maybe it's just like not understanding how things actually work. Of like going like, well, if we just we'll just make our new website, and then people will know about it and be like,
Right.
that's not how it
Right.
works.
Yeah. Well, and it's and I okay. So I understand that. I understand their competitive component where like, hey, I'm handing you the scouting report on us, right? Like if you take a sports analogy, and I remember I played for a coach then in college who was the exact opposite, who like the scouting report was non-existent basically, and he would say like, hey, listen, if we do what we're supposed to do and we do it well, we'll be fine. And I think while I didn't necessarily agree with that coaching approach, and it didn't suit me as a player, I actually think that's a healthy approach to take to promote your product. To put, like, if you have an image of what it is and what it does, put it out there because you will capture. I can tell you this: you're going to see how few people pay attention to you
Mm-hmm.
when you see impressions and comments, and they're not there
Mm-hmm.
because no one's paying attention to you. Wouldn't it be cool to go viral with your first post? Yeah, let
It
me know how
would.
that works, right? But I do think I understand where they come from. But I would say we both know they need to get over that
Mm-hmm.
because you got to put it out there because you're not just showing people what you do and what you are. They're getting a sense of who you are and are you credible or not? Because how many times have you wanted to buy something and you're like, oh, it looks good, but who the hell is this company? I don't even know who they are. Like, and then you go to their website and their website tucks everything away and you're like, I'm not buying. I don't know what the hell this is. Right?
Uh,
Like, I mean, that happens all the time. And
or yeah,
well, go ahead.
or you just it's not a priority. Like you're out and like this sounds extremely vain, but like when you're a B2B company, your outward facing persona is extremely important, right? Like it's what people see about you, right? When you go to a trade show, and I think that's like to get to the crux of it. The issue of this thinking that everybody knows who you are and likes you and is aware of you is that you're not hungry about making sure that what you're putting out is 100% all of the time great and you're sharing information and you're interesting and your website isn't good. Like when I talk, it's almost like a direct correlation of like, if I talk to someone and I'm getting the vibe that they think like, oh, everyone knows who we are and we don't, like, they're typically in that sentence is like, our website isn't that important, right? Because they're just coming to us directly, or we don't have to, like, it's though that mindset of like, well, everyone just knows who we are. We don't have to invest in that type of thing, or we don't have to do that type of thing, or like we don't. And
our customers don't look at us on the internet, which I still hear every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people say that, and like I would tell you, it's the opposite, right? Like, because if you're at a trade show, you know, if you're at a trade show and someone leaves your booth, like, and you actually really impress them, they're probably going to go to your website.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's less about like the someone being cocky and going like, everyone just knows who we are. It's more about like the general mindset of like, that's not something that we care about. That's not something that we prioritize. That's not like, which is the exact opposite of what you have to be as a B2B company in today's world, where like you need everybody to know who you are and you need to differentiate yourself and you need to make yourself, you need to clearly communicate your message, because if you don't do that, you're going to blend into every other company. I mean, like what is, I don't want to misquote him, but like what does Matthew Ray Scott say about like blending into?
Oh, the sea of sameness or something like that.
That like that concept. It's spot on. Like that's where if you don't care about what you're externally putting out there, you're just going to blend into everybody else.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of counter. I think that's kind of quick twitch. Counterintuitive. I don't think people think that way. I think they need to be persuaded that that's the case. Mm-hmm. Just I don't on some level in the animal brain. So okay, but you're saying you need to be known. You need to. So let me throw then like, okay, but Ryan, we're working with small med tech companies.
Mm-hmm.
Our product's not gonna. If we showed you what our product was in 3 months, it's going to be outdated anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then people will think we have problems, or
no one's going to remember.
We aren't right, exactly.
No one's going to remember.
Or people know you're small and they know things change. We just had a conversation before we got on here about a company that I looked at 2 years ago, liked their product, and now it's more expensive, but it is way more robust. And the only way you know that is if you stay in touch or keep on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But like things change, people know things change. But I think like, so if I say, hey, Ryan, here's what we are on our website and here's what we do. We're very clear. We do what you tell me we should do. We're very clear so that 3 seconds into it, I know it. I know what you are and I know what you do and I know how you can help me and I know what I should do next. Right. But in 6 months, our business model has changed a little bit. And we've found a slightly different, more ideal customer. Because you and I both know this happens.
Yeah. 1,000%.
But Ryan, then they think we're something we're not. Right? Don't they?
Won't. No. They don't. Right?
Well, I would say most of the time, they don't even remember what you said.
Yeah, they don't remember what you said. And then, like, if your argument is that, like, we've actually changed who our target customer is, it'd be like, okay, cool. Then the person that you're now talking to didn't know who you were 6 months ago, right? You're like the new kid showing up at school. You're just cool because you came from a different school and you have an Australian accent. Your name's Heath Ledger. So, like, that's no 10 things I hate about you. So, that's like the real, this is like nobody that, and that kind of ties into like my dad's comment of like,
you're not that special.
You're not that special. You're not that important. People don't think about you constantly.
You're not that memorable. They're like, yeah. I think I learned that in sales, and you probably did too. You're like, dude, we talked about this 3 weeks ago, and this hyper smart, Or like, did we? And then you start, as you really get experience, you just assume they don't remember it. And you figure out ways to, until they say, yeah, you told me that last time.
And why are you repeating
cool, I didn't
this to
think
me?
you were paying attention.
So,
Right.
So like now that we've established, like here's what the problem. These groups, they think that people remember them. They think that people care so much about everything. They're following their journey. Now, they just don't, unless you're doing stuff where they are going to follow your journey, right? But more often than not, with who I'm thinking about and what you're doing, like, you're not doing anything memorable, okay? And I'll give you an example of a company who I think is doing a good job at this. And I just kind of pseudo stalk them. So like I have no vested interest in them. I've never talked to a single person at this company. I don't know anyone there. And I cite them all the time, is like Native Orthopedics, which is a bunch of like former J&J guys. There's a doctor involved. But they're like really smart, very impressive. And what's interesting about them is like they don't appear to have like this massive budget. They didn't have some, like I said, I stalk them. They don't have some like massive booth at AAOS. They're doing a lot of things digitally. But they are like sharing their journey. They just got a new thing approved. And they're evolving. And they're completely embracing the fact that they're evolving, right? Their website, I look at it once a month because I think it's a good website. Like, their website is constantly evolving. You know the only person who knows that? Me, because I'm obsessed with their website, and I look at it, and I look at their messaging, and I look at it's like a case study that I'm doing in my brain, and I bring it up in conversations like this. Like, they're a good example of how you evolve. And if I sat down with their CEO or their CMO, and I pick their brain and ask them, like, hey, do you guys ever think about like what people thought of you 6 months ago? They would probably go, no, and if they did, the only thing I care about is them knowing that we're progressing every single day.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I actually know. I met a couple of those guys.
Lucky. Humble brag. I'm jealous.
No. I'm sitting here going like, yeah, it's. I met them briefly, and I know the name, but I honestly, right now, I don't remember what their product does. I don't remember even their names. I remember the name.
Yeah.
Native Orthopedics. But they're doing something, but I'm also not their target demographic.
Yeah, you're not their target audience. And like I said, right. I just look at them.
They don't really care if I remember. Yeah.
No. And I just look at them from they're a really interesting marketing company. I mean, not marketing, med device company that I look at from a marketing perspective.
You know me. Like we could sit here and...
So actually, let me tell you what they do, okay? Because I think that is a good example, right? So what they have done is, and this is a very easy, replicable thing for every other company that is similar to them could do, and there's hundreds of them, is one of their founders, who is a doctor, who is an expert. Do you know what he started doing about 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago?
I'm going to guess talking about the problem he faces and faced and tried to solve.
And what he's motivated by and what he sees and what he does. And he goes on podcasts now. And I think they started a video series. And he's active on LinkedIn. And he's doing all of these things. And he's engaging with his peers. And he's doing interviews. And like... And
that sounds like a lot of money and time.
It's not, I'm sure. And even if it was a lot of money and time, I'd be like, well, I don't know how you're going to grow your company other than doing that.
And it's not. You and I both know it's not a lot of money. It is a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's worth it because people know them. People come to them at the meeting.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, hey, we're at booth 487. People are saying, hey, you have a booth. I'm going to come by. Big difference.
Yeah, big difference.
It's like a gravitational pull versus a dog whistle, right?
So I
made that one up as
I was going to make a mean joke of you not being able to hear either of them, but it's fine. So
the American Disabilities Act. You're about to understand it.
I'm going blind slowly, okay? And between the two of us, we'll help each other out. So, they're very active on LinkedIn. He's very active on LinkedIn. He's very active on a bunch of organic platforms where they can generate attention and audience, okay? They're prioritizing their website, right? So I can't share their website. I could. I didn't enable it before we talk, so
it's okay.
Cope's going to yell at me afterwards. But like their website has changed since yesterday when I looked at it.
By the way, no conflict of interest here.
No conflict.
Again, Ryan's obsessed with them. I can't even remember their names.
It's kind of weird.
But it's a great example of what you talk about, right? Which is constantly making yourself recognizable, memorable, helpful. How else am I? I'm sort of making this up, but that's kind of
exactly. And then you prioritize the important things. Like what's important? Well, their messaging on their website's super important. Introducing the new era of knee preservation powered by Dragonfly, tailored light touch surgical solutions that respect and preserve our native anatomy, made by a surgeon for surgeons, okay? And they were someone who we talked about months ago when I forced them into a conversation then too, where I was like, you want to know a group that does messaging and like positioning and what are you all about, right? If you're in the world that Native Orthopedics is selling to, and you were like, hey, what does Native Orthopedic care about? They care about tailored light touch surgical solutions, right? And I could almost tighten that up and go like, they care about the least, like the most natural approach to
least invasive,
most natural approach to sports medicine or to like knee preservation, because like it's knee introducing the new era of knee preservation. Like they're looking for the most natural, non-invasive approach to knee preservation. That's what they're all about.
So
it's the only thing they care about.
They're a perfect example of what you were talking about and the complaints you have early on as to people don't know you, people don't think about you, people don't remember you. Assume these three things and you're probably right.
Yeah, and then make a plan from there. So like, how do you fix it? Well, we're going to fix it by we're going to organically reach out to people, okay? So we're going to create organic content so that we're top of mind for people, so people are aware of us, right? So we understand that people don't know who we are. No one's ever going to know who we are unless we talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. We know that the next path in somebody finding out about us or doing anything, you and I both know they don't have a massive sales force, okay?
Right.
They might not even have I think they just got 510K clearance according to their website. That was the update that I was talking about. I knew that they got it like 2 days ago. Their website has a little banner up top.
Congratulations to Native Orthopedics. That's a big...
This is going to come out in a couple weeks from now, so it'll be a little late, but it's fine. We're not that important. You and me. So, but they know that someone's going to find out about them. They're going to see what they're all about. They're going to understand that. And what are they going to do? They're going to go to their website. So what do they prioritize? They know they don't have a massive sales force, so they're going to make sure that their website explains what they do, what they care about, how they solve it immediately. So if you go through their website, it's laid out so that you know exactly what they're about. So that's not anything about like outbound. That's not like reaching out to anybody. That's not doing anything. It's prioritizing that people don't know who you are. So when they go to find out the next portion of who you are, you better make it as easy as possible for them to understand.
Well, so, okay. I love this because you have an understanding of sales because you've done it, but you're a marketing guru. I'm a salesperson who has a understanding and recognition of marketing. And so we cross over, but I'm going to, you just put that in a great way of sort of brand and marketing and advertising, although, again, they're all different. But here's how it presents for the salespeople, especially at small med device companies. And let's make it even the most difficult. I'm a 1099 for a small medical device company. And I've had people say this to me, and I joke about it, but it's actually true. I don't know who you are. I've never heard of your product or your company, right? But if I walk in there and they say, oh, yeah, I saw you're on a schedule, because this is what they do. I don't know you or your product, but I saw your website. So I went to your website and looked you up. You guys are the ones that did we're talking about, all of a sudden my job is way easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's some recognition. There's on some level some, it's not just recognition, it's credibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're real because you never heard of me, right? And that's a big hurdle for small med device companies to get over. And I think it goes back to your original point that they think people are thinking about you. No, it's worse. They don't know you. They don't think about you. So when we come in and present it or introduce it to you, if they haven't seen your social media or somehow been on your website, it helps me with credibility.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me as the 1099 say, oh, yeah, like they're a really cool company. You check them out. You know, my job got about 2 sales calls easier.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I do think this is important. That's why you and I were excited about this topic. And it's not just because we like to insult and make fun of people. That's, again, Breaking MedTech After Hours. It's behind a paywall. But if we roast everybody. There's no such thing, by the way. But
I wish.
But there will be. But I think like that's really important. And then I can also say, hey, I know we have appointment Thursday. You've probably never heard of us. Here's our website. If you want to do a little, and you have a good website. Like this is the way we don't like. Who cares about search engine optimization? It's fine. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in our little ecosystem that we have created that makes our job easier and, more importantly, more impactful. And that's why I love this stuff. I love talking to you about this because we know these things to be true. And I hope what we do is we are convincing whoever's listening, if they have a small med device company, to take the next step, to think about their website, to value what they do, their name, their brand, their recognition in ways that they really do matter.
Yeah, because like this is always where I put myself. And I don't know if you do this either, but like if I was put in charge of a company like Native Orthopedics or I don't know, like something along those lines, right? And I was brought in, and they've existed for a couple years, and they got a good product. Regulatory's fine, operations fine, but just no one knows who they are, okay? Because that's normally where these companies are. Like, this is a real problem that we see over and over again. My first 90 days, like my first week, my first day in the office, I would be like, hey, everyone, I'm Ryan. I'm in charge now somehow. I don't know why either. So
Heaven help us.
I would be like, we need people to figure out who we are. We need people to know who we are. Here's how we're going to do it. And I would look at like, what's our budget? What do we have now? What don't we have? Give me my website. Show me what it looks like. Do we do any type of marketing? Do we do any type of advertising?
And you use the website as a reflection of what the company is. Like, I think people sometimes think, oh yeah, I need to have it because sometimes people look at us. And I was thinking about this, the way you describe it, like it's a massively important part of who you are. And it's every single day it's becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
So
that's why
that's day one. It's a mirror of what you say every day.
Yeah.
And like it's not you would look at website not because you're a marketing person. I actually think you'd look at it because as a CEO, that's your forward public facing look, right?
Yeah, and it is like there's like a rule of thumb So I listen to a lot of marketing podcasts. I read a lot of marketing books, and like a general rule of thumb that is like, if you get hired as like a CMO or director of marketing at like a regular company that, let's say, isn't a startup or isn't like small, and is like, you don't touch the website for the first 90 days, because that's going to be your first thing as a marketer, is that you're going to go like, well, I want to fix the website right away. That's everyone's I guarantee you, if we went and polled like 100 marketers and there was like, what are you going to do first day? They're all going to go like, we're going to fix the website. I haven't seen the website, but we're going to fix it.
Right.
I haven't seen it, but we're going to fix it. For me, we work in an industry that I just know like most of these websites suck. So like I actually can go in and go like 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to fix the website immediately, or it's going to be on the priority. Yeah. Now, realistically, I would probably wait until I understand the messaging portion of it. Right. I do. And that's kind of like why you don't want to do it right away.
Is that what you would actually look at the first day, is the messaging?
Yeah, probably the messaging. But like, that's, you just, as long as you recognize that nobody, and that's like the whole crux of this, is like, as long as you understand that nobody knows who you are, unlikely people don't know who you are, they don't remember you, they're not going to remember you, you're not memorable because you've done nothing to be memorable, then you can build from that point.
Right.
And as long as you accept that as a company, as a CEO, as a director of sales and marketing, or whatever you are, as long as you sit down in your car right now and you look at yourself and you go, do people know who we are? Do people remember us? Do we care about this? Right? Is this something that we're prioritizing? And if the answer is no, and then you go like, well, we're also not hitting our sales numbers, we're not hitting our numbers, I'm going to tell you that's why. Right? Because you don't prioritize, you don't care about the fact that people don't know about you. You just think it's going to happen naturally, or you think your 1099s are going to do it for you. And the second that you move past that, you can grow.
Well, it's interesting. And then, well, when I was at Globus was this rising up and comer, but there were a bunch of new spine companies that were coming out at the same time. Only one of them really thrived. Two of them at the same time. So there were sort of 3 that emerged, and a bunch sort of never got past X. And when we would be talking to surgeons, and again, I didn't really know anything, I was new, our message to surgeons was like, hey, listen, here's what Globus is. Globus is this really innovative, like everybody says they're innovative. Wait till you see what they do, right? Who listen to surgeons and not just the ones on the dais. And people are like, yeah. I'm like, and I'm going to tell you what they do. If you like, we'll make custom instruments for you in 2 weeks. And they'd be like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's an example of how innovative they are and how they listen to surgeons. And by the way, you don't have to do business with us. But if you wanted a retractor with a different handle, let's go. Like, I'll show you what we mean, because you can't get any other company on the planet to do this, right? So, and their website was like, T-lift cages with Peak, right? Like, I wish their website had said something to that effect, right? That this is who we are, this is what we value, so that I could point back to them and give them examples. And it's just like this cycle, this loop, because that's our message. It's not that the website is so important. It's what's on the website and what's the message. And it's a reflection of what the company stands for and who they are. And it will change over time. It has changed over time. I just want it to reflect what we think we are today, right? Like, and we're not banging it into a stone tablet. So like, we can rewrite the website in a couple of days if we realize there's new learnings and this is what we're doing now and this is where we are. We can change that. But I just think it's so important. And because nobody cares, nobody's paying attention, no one's stealing your idea, and nobody remembers, you have to constantly remind them and update them and like show them and tell them everywhere, constantly,
all the time. And you should be like, You have to do it. Like, and I don't like it's not a I joke, I have a friend who is in regulatory and operations, and we go back and forth, right? Because they go like, well, you can't sell a product without regulatory and operations. And I go, yeah, technically you're correct. You'll never sell a product without sales and marketing. Though. So
I can sell the problem though.
I can sell
Sell the problem all day long.
So like you will never sell a product without telling people about it. You won't, or about like the problem, or about like, you won't, right? And it's something that you have to prioritize. And that is the ultimate lesson to learn, is that it's not about, this isn't me and Cope yelling at you going like, nobody cares about you, you're not important. It's going, you need to accept that nobody knows about you. And right now you're not important. But today's the day you're going to change.
Yeah.
And
today's your day you're going to change.
Today's the day you're going to turn around and you're going to go, this is what we're prioritizing. And here's the plan of how we're going to do it over the next 180 days. And then every day you go out and execute relentlessly to make people aware of who you are, how you help them, and how they can get in contact with you.
Yep. That's it.
And that's it.
That's it. That's it. This has been Breaking Med Tech, where we talk about we think you're important. We care about you.
I care about you.
But the general market has no reason to until you give them reason. And
exactly.
You have to do what Ryan just said. And so, this has been Breaking Med Tech. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.